John Wayne Gacy seemed like an upstanding man. He was a successful businessman, active in his local community, and even worked as Pogo the Clown at children's parties. He was adored by the children. But this friendly clown mask hid a terrifying secret. Gacy wasn't just a clown. He was a cold-blooded killer. Between 1972 and 1978, young men started disappearing from Chicago. Most were teenage boys or runaways. They vanished without a trace, last seen talking to a man with a friendly face. John Wayne Gacy, the man behind Pogo the Clown. He lured them into his home with promises of work or a safe place to stay. But once they stepped inside, they were trapped. Gacy bound them, assaulted them, and then murdered them. What he did with their bodies was even worse. Gacy buried his victims beneath his house in the crawlspace. Others were hidden in his yard or thrown into the nearby river. At least 29 bodies were found in his home, and others were found in different locations. For years, no one suspected Gacy. He had a strong reputation in the community. He even hosted charity events and worked with local politics. It was hard to believe that someone so trusted could be capable of such horrors. But in 1978, the case of Robert P.S., a 15-year-old boy, would be the key to unlocking the truth. P.S. disappeared after leaving work at a pharmacy. He was last seen talking to a man about a job opportunity. Gacy had been in the pharmacy just moments before. The police started looking into him, but at first, Gacy denied any involvement. He had an alibi, but detectives began to notice a pattern. Young men from the same area had gone missing for years, and many of them had last been seen near Gacy's home. A detective named Joseph Kearns began digging deeper. He found witnesses who said they narrowly escaped Gacy's clutches. One survivor even described how Gacy tried to handcuff him, but he managed to escape. A search warrant was obtained, and inside Gacy's home, they discovered what no one could have imagined. They found 29 bodies buried under the house. Many of them had been strangled or suffocated. It was clear Gacy had been killing for years. In total, Gacy murdered at least 33 victims. Most were young men or teenage boys. Gacy took advantage of their trust and used his status to lure them in. His killing spree lasted over 6 years. He picked victims at random, tortured them, then killed them in the most brutal ways. The trial began in 1979. Gacy's defense tried to argue that he was insane, but the prosecution proved he was calculating and aware of his actions. In 1980, Gacy was convicted and sentenced to death. He was placed on death row in Menard Correctional Center. Gacy's time in prison wasn't quiet. He gave interviews and drew disturbing pictures. He even boasted about how he had outsmarted the police for so long. Finally, in 1994, after 14 years on death row, Gacy was executed by lethal injection. John Wayne Gacy's reign of terror was over, but his victims will never be forgotten. His name is forever tied to horror. He was a clown by day and a killer by night. Follow for more true crime stories.